The Comprehensive Injury Center at the Medical College of Wisconsin has entered into a partnership with the Kigali Genocide Memorial Team to really look at opportunities to adopt their peace and values curriculum for the United States context. When we look at this curriculum, it's been instrumental in helping young people, families, and elders who've been impacted by the genocide of 1994 really find peace and healing and reconnection to each other. We are interested in seeing how that curriculum could be adopted to help individuals impacted by gun violence in the United States. And so it's been powerful to have the Forum for Life team here to watch how this experience has impacted them. And we look forward to adopting this curriculum for not only CVI programs in Wisconsin, but also across the country.
Freddie from Aegis Trust reached out to me and is just really concerned about his team, concerned about their well-being, and because the work that they do is stressful and potentially traumatic. So they have, at the Genocide Memorial, survivors of the genocide working to educate others about genocide in order to prevent it from happening again. Many of them having been survivors, that can kind of take a toll in and of itself, in addition to, on a daily basis as a part of their work, continuing to talk about the genocide. So Freddie reached out asking if we could help revise or actually help create a program for Aegis Trust that centers wellness within a trauma-informed lens. So a trauma-informed wellness program is being presented on this trip to the team here at Aegis Trust. We're going to get their feedback, and then we are going to help them consider how could they have a wellness program that's trauma-informed for all of Aegis Trust. And Aegis Trust does work in Rwanda to prevent genocide, but also does work related to prevention of genocide in other countries.
Peace and values curriculum or education is an education, but pretty much started in Rwanda, where we wanted to build resilience for our people. And there are three values more, but the core ones are empathy, critical thinking, and personal responsibility. Why those three? Let me start with critical thinking. We wanted all young people, or whoever goes through the program, to ask themselves, why do I think the way I think? What causes me to think the way I think? So that we can start even dealing with the stereotypes that we have. Empathy. Can I put myself in your shoes so that I know that if you hurt, I can also hurt? But also the other thing is personal responsibility. You know, not thinking that someone else is going to come and do anything for you. It's me who's going to do it. It's me who's going to make a difference. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, what the program is all about. And as part of the program, people who participate learn about the history of Rwanda, but we also relate it to other histories. We use the Kigali Genocide Memorial that has the history of pre-colonial Rwanda, the history of the genocide against the Tutsi, but also the aftermath. But also we go to other genocide elsewhere in the world. So we learn about all of them. We also learn more about lives, how people built themselves. So we go deeper into listening, which is very important for empathy. We go into forgiveness. We go, and when we go learn about forgiveness, we meet survivors and perpetrators together, and we learn about their stories.
Forgiveness mean to me, and what have I learned about it on this trip? I learned that it's a process, and it's individualized. I learned that not everybody's road to forgiveness is the same, and I know it takes time. And I know I've learned that forgiving myself first is the key to forgiveness.
Where neighbor killed neighbor, neighbor raped neighbor. And to see these people now reconcile their past on this village, to visit the church where people sought shelter because they thought that they would be safe because they was in the house of God. And yet they wasn't saved. And so that had an impact on me, that not even 30 feet away, listening to them reconcile with the past, listening to the kids, which is the future, not even 30 feet away, playing, because it's about trying to ensure that those kids have a future and not focus on their differences, but their commonalities to bring one Rwanda forward. And it was overwhelming and very touching, and put a lot of responsibility to have the elders of the village to say that I was the key to our people back in America, and people like me. After me being a part of the genocide by being part of gangs and harming others that look like me and others, it was no different to me to harm one. It's no different than to harm a million. So I try and do my best to ensure that I can save lives and stop the genocide that we have taking place in America, and focus on our one commonality, like they're doing here in Rwanda, so that the youth can have a future.
Yeah, my name is Maurice Kwizerimana, born and raised in Rwanda. Of course, I'm Rwandese, and who is also a survivor of the genocide perpetrated against the Tutsi in 1994. When I was too young, almost 5 years of age. But again, I do remember almost at the end of 1993, when elder brother of my dad was attacked into his house in a place called Muhima, and the grenade was drawn into his house, which led to his death and injured some of my cousins. So in my family, we lost more than 50 people, not counting, let's say not counting the son and daughter of our cousins, instead the close family. But if I can also give you a small details on how surviving was a blessing, but also a hell at the same time on the genocide consequences, because people have empathy to others.
Being here in Rwanda has been beyond transformative. And for me, as a Black psychologist, as a researcher, as a teacher, as a community healer, has only affirmed what Black and African psychology has said, which is it is essential, it is a requirement for clinical practice to include the history of our people, that it has to come from an Afrocentric framework. And so my hope is to take the stories from our motherland and utilize them as a pathway to liberation for people of African descent, because their struggles and what they experience is so similar to what we experience in the United States. And we just need a mental health field, a mental health praxis that keeps that in mind and integrates it.
The main thing is the tool of Gichaka, which is the public testimony related to the wrongs that were done, and also forgiveness. So if we can get into those spaces and recognize the wrongs that were done to all of us and each other, and then have the spirit of forgiveness and the spirit to build together, even though we've wronged each other. So that forward thinking, the healing process, being able to receive the healing, to accept the healing, and then build together on a brighter future. So
my big dream is to have a center called Center for Peace, which will be established here in Kigali, that will be facilitating the people who cannot visit some of the reconciliation villages and hear the story, hear them from the ground, but also it will be an entrepreneur hub that led people, Rwandese, from the perpetrators' background, survivors' background, to meet together in terms of rebuilding their lives psychotherapically and financially. I didn't choose to be born in the family where mom and dad will be Tutsis, where they are under the targeted group. I didn't choose to be born in the 90s where the genocide happened, as well as my neighbors whom can turn into the killers instead of being the good neighbors. So after forgiving that, therefore I don't have any expectation to anyone, to anything that will come to ask for any apology, or the life is challenging and then I use those excuses to make it happen. Instead, I fight until I make it happen. After forgiving those, therefore I can move ahead. That's the reason why I was saying that time to survive has ended. It's now time to live.